Welcome back, house kids. Eric here. Today is Saturday, August 22nd, and hopefully you can join us next weekend on Sunday, August 30th. We're having another kids event outdoors. It's going to be fun. I want you to know it's just going to be for the 9 a.m. service. We're not going to have it during the 11 a.m. service, so make sure you come at the 9 a.m. service if you're going to be there. It's going to be fun. We'll have a game. We'll have crafts. We'll do a story time. If you were there at the end of July when we had our event, it's going to be similar to that, just different games, different crafts, different story. Boom! Let's get to the lesson. Where did we leave off? We left off with the great escape. Moses and the Israelites were able to escape from the Egyptian armies that were coming to get them because of God's miraculous event where he took the Red Sea and the water in it and parted it with wind from to the sides, making a way so that they could escape through to the other side of the sea. And the Egyptian armies chased after them, as we remember, and the water came crashing down on them. So they got away. Woohoo! Now what? If we remember, God promised them, and this even goes back to Abraham, he promised them he was going to return them to the land of Canaan. And so here we are. This is what's going on. He's bringing them there. However, he's not taking the regular short way. This is the long journey there. It's very long. And at first they're in this place called Elim, and there's food and water, and it's nice. And they depart from there, and they go off, and they end up in the wilderness, in the desert. It's hot. There's not a lot of food or water, and the Israelites are complaining, oh, this is totally not cool. Why do we even leave Egypt? We're out here, there's no food, blah, blah, whine, complain. So they're complaining, and Moses is like, Lord, they're totally complaining right now, and God says to Moses, I'm going to provide for you guys. I love you guys. Don't worry about it. In the mornings, you're going to eat bread. And in the evenings, you're going to have meat to eat. So God's going to take care of them. And Moses tells them, hey, God's going to provide for us. And in the morning, there was, when you get up in the morning and there's the water on the plants and stuff, it's called dew, right? And the dew in the morning on the ground turns into this flaky bread. And the Israelites are like, what is this? And they call it manna, right? And it's this bread from heaven that God brings them every morning. And they call it manna, which means, what is this? Because they were confused by it at first, but you could eat it. And it sustained them. It gave them some nourishment. And so God provided them in the mornings. He would provide them this bread from heaven. And in the evenings, he would have tons of quail would come into their camp, wherever they're camped out at. And quail are a type of bird, which is really cool, right? They're not that big, but I don't know if you can see this. This is a picture of a quail, and God created them really neat because they got this cool little ornamental, like feathery thing on the top of their head, like, oh, check me out. And so these quail would end up coming into the camp at night, and so they had to have quail to eat. So it's almost like, they had chicken for dinner and bread for breakfast. God was providing them food, but he had rules. He didn't just give them the food. He gave them the food, but he also gave them with some rules. And the rules were this: only collect enough of the bread for your family for that day. Don't save any for the next day. And also on the sixth day, every sixth day, gather double what your family would eat, because the seventh day is the Sabbath, and that's a day that I want you to rest, and I don't want you to gather food. So he had these rules for them, and a lot of them obeyed, but there was some that didn't. There was some that didn't listen to God, and there was some that would try and gather more than their family could eat in one day, and then the next morning they'd go to eat it maybe, and it was rotten and gross, and they had to throw it out. So God was forcing them to do this food thing that he's providing for them his way. And there was still a bunch that weren't doing it his way. There was some that didn't gather double on the 6th day. And then the 7th day, they walk out. Hey, where's all the manna? Well, I don't see any bread. And Moses is getting upset with them. Moses is like, God told you guys certain things you needed to do. Why are you complaining and whining because you're not doing it because you want to do it your own way? And so these people would whine and complain, and Moses would get frustrated at him for it, right? And then eventually they get to a certain place where they're thirsty there because there's not a lot of water. And so they whine and complain again. Oh my gosh, there's no water here. And again, some of them say, we should have stayed back in Egypt and died there. This is dumb. And Moses is like, Lord, what am I supposed to do with these people? They're getting angry at me, and I'm not doing anything. What am I supposed to do? And God tells Moses, all right, go to this big rock and take your staff and hit the rock with your staff, and I'll be there, and I'll make sure I provide water. And so he does this, and as he hits the rock with his staff, water flows from the rock. So God provides. So this whole time, for 40 years, they're out in this wilderness, in this desert. God is teaching them that he's holy, he is good, and he's loving. And there's a lot of them that just will complain and whine. And when I read this story, I feel like sometimes when I read it, like, why are they complaining so much, you know? But then I realize that there's times that I'm hungry. There's times that I don't have something that I want or I feel like I need, and I feel like complaining, and sometimes I complain. So it's easy for us to look on the outside, looking back at this historical incident that happened where God's providing for his people and they're complaining anyways. But we need to realize sometimes we should look at ourselves, because when we complain, it doesn't really necessarily always get us what we're complaining about. And usually it just makes us feel bad because we're thinking about what we don't have instead of thinking about the things that we do have, because we are blessed. And here on this earth with sin, there's going to be lots of times where we don't have everything we need, what we feel like, we're lacking something, but we have God and we have Jesus. And if we think of the things that we do have in those times where we're feeling not so great, feeling like complaining, then we're going to have a little more joy in our heart, because we're going to remember that we're blessed even though we don't have everything we feel like we should. So that's a challenge. I'm going to challenge myself, and I challenge you guys to, next time we feel like complaining about something, to think about some things that we do have that are great, that God has given us, right, in our lives. It's a great story, this bread from heaven. So I have in the Dropbox below, there's a link to it. You can find it in the description. It will have printouts for the craft, for the activity sheet and the coloring sheet. It'll also have the video if you want to watch the video for this story. Here's our coloring sheet for the week. God provided for the physical needs of his people. And there they are going around. There's quail, you can see when you print it out, and they're collecting all the bread and stuff. And here is our activity sheet. You get to find the differences, all right? There's 7 differences between each version of this Bible story picture, so you have to find the differences, what's different between the two, and circle those. So that'll be fun for you. And the craft this week that Robin made is awesome. Check it out. Woo, it's a little quail, and he's pecking. If you go like this, you can see he like pecks at. There's little manna, little bread from heaven. And it's pretty simple. All you need to do, and you'll find it, is print out this one sheet. And it looks like this is mostly what you'll need. Probably need some glue and some scissors, I imagine. The video down below to Robin's craft on how to do it is down there. So click on that, and she'll show you how to turn this into this. All right, well, you guys, great story. Bread from heaven. God is holy, he's good, and he's loving. Thank you, God. Love you guys. You guys take care, and we'll see you next time. Adios. Later.